You served, you sacrificed, you showed up when most people wouldn't, and now you're wondering, was it worth it financially? Here's the truth. Nobody tells you up front. The military pension is one of the most powerful retirement tools in America, but most service members have no idea how it actually works. They don't know the formula. They don't know the multipliers. They don't know what they're actually going to receive, and because of that, they leave money on the table. Or worse, they make decisions based on guesswork. Today, that changes. We're breaking down the U.S. military pension, exactly how it works, exactly what you'll get, and exactly how to maximize every dollar you've earned. If this kind of veteran financial content helps you, hit subscribe. We break down military money in a way no one else does. The military retirement system isn't like a 401k. It's not a savings account you contribute to every paycheck. It's a defined benefit plan, which means the government is contractually obligated to pay you a monthly check for the rest of your life. That distinction matters enormously. In the private sector, defined benefit pensions have almost completely disappeared. Most civilians retire hoping their 401k lasts long enough. You, on the other hand, have a guaranteed income stream that cannot be outlived. That is a financial asset most Americans will never have access to. The foundation of the entire pension is built on one number: your years of service. Specifically, whether you hit that 20-year mark. Unlike most retirement systems where you can vest after 5 or 10 years and still receive some benefit, the military operates on a cliff vesting model. Serve 19 years and 11 months, you receive nothing. Serve 20 years, you unlock a lifetime pension. That cliff is real, and it's steep. Now let's talk about the actual formula, because this is where most explanations fall apart. There are 3 separate retirement systems currently in effect for U.S. military members, and which one applies to you depends entirely on when you entered service. If you joined before the 8th of September, 1980, you fall under the final pay system. Your retirement pay is calculated using your final month's base pay at the time of retirement. The multiplier is 2.5% per year of service. So at 20 years, that's 50% of your final base pay. At 30 years, it's 75%. This system was the most generous, and it's now closed to new entrants. If you entered service between the 8th of September 1980 and the 31st of July 1986, you fall under the high 3-6 system. This is still an extremely strong retirement plan. Instead of using your final month's pay, the calculation averages your highest 36 months of basic pay, typically your last 3 years of service. The same 2.5% multiplier applies. 20 years of service equals 50% of your high 3-6 average. 30 years equals 75%. The difference from final pay is usually modest, but it does slightly reduce the monthly benefit for most retirees. If you entered service on or after the 1st of August 1986, you were given a choice, and that choice had major financial consequences. At your 5-year mark, you were offered the option to either stay under high 3-6 with no bonus, or switch to something called Redux in exchange for a $30,000 career status bonus. Most financial experts will tell you straight taking the Redux was almost always the wrong move. Under Redux, your multiplier drops to 2% per year for the first 20 years. That means instead of 50% at retirement, you're receiving 40%. You do get a catch-up provision at age 62 that temporarily bumps you back to what high 3-6 would have paid, but the math rarely works out in your favor long term. If you took that bonus and invested it wisely, you might break even, but most people didn't. Now, if you entered service on or after January 1, 2018, you are under the blended retirement system, commonly called BRS. This is the newest system, and it fundamentally changed the equation. Under BRS, the government automatically contributes 1% of your base pay into a thrift savings plan account, regardless of whether you contribute anything yourself. After 60 days of service, the government begins matching your TSP contributions up to an additional 4%. That's a total potential match of 5% of your base pay going into your TSP every single year. The trade-off is that your pension multiplier is reduced. Instead of 2.5% per year, BRS members earn 2% per year. At 20 years, That's 40% of your high. 3-6 average, not 50%. At 30 years, it's 60% instead of 75%. On paper, the pension looks smaller. But when you factor in years of TSP matching and the power of compound growth, many service members under BRS will actually come out ahead, especially those who plan to leave before 20 years. The key word is plan. If you're under BRS and not maxing out your TSP contributions, you are leaving free money on the table every single pay period. Let's put some real numbers on this so it stops being abstract. Take an E7 with 20 years of service retiring today. An E7 at 20 years earns roughly $5,500 to $6,200 per month in basic pay, depending on their specific time and grade. Under high 3-6, using an average of around $5,800 per month, their retirement pay would be 50% of that, approximately $2,900 per month, or about $34,800 per year. That check starts the day they retire. It doesn't wait until they turn 65. If they retire at 42 and live to 82, that's 40 years of pension payments. In raw dollars, that's over $1.39 million in lifetime pension income before accounting for annual cost of living adjustments. Now, take an 05 a lieutenant colonel or commander also retiring at 20 years. Their basic pay at retirement is typically in the range of $9,000 to $10,000 per month. At 50%, their monthly pension lands between $4,500 and $5,000. That's $54,000 to $60,000 per year, guaranteed for life. Over a 3-5-year retirement horizon, that's well over $2 million in lifetime pension income. These numbers are not hypothetical. They are the actual outcomes built into the system for people who served their 20 years. One feature of the military pension that almost never gets enough attention is the cost of living adjustment, or COLA. Every year, your pension payment is adjusted upward to keep pace with inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index. In practical terms, this means your purchasing power doesn't erode over a 30 or 40-year retirement the way a fixed income would. In recent years, with elevated inflation, military retirees received COLA increases of 5.9% in 2022, 8.7% in 2023, and 3.2% in 2024. These adjustments are automatic, you don't apply for them, they just happen. For Redux retirees, it's worth noting that COLA adjustments are capped 1 percentage point below the standard CPI adjustment until age 62. Another reason Redux was a raw deal for most people. Now let's talk about something the retirement briefings gloss over: the actual purchasing power of a military pension in retirement. Most retirees don't stop working when they leave the military. The average military retiree separates in their early to mid-40s. That pension becomes a foundation, not a ceiling. It allows veterans to take career risks that civilians can't. You can pursue a second career in a field you're passionate about, even if it pays less, because your baseline expenses are covered. You can start a business without the terror of running out of money before it gets off the ground. You can negotiate differently because you're not desperate. A guaranteed monthly income fundamentally changes your financial risk tolerance, and that changes everything. There's also the interaction between military pension and Social Security that most veterans overlook. Unlike federal civilian employees under some older pension systems, military retirees can receive both their full pension and full Social Security benefits simultaneously. There is no offset. If you served 20 years, retired, transitioned to a civilian career for another 15 to 20 years, and contributed to Social Security during that time, you can collect both. At age 62 or later, a military retiree drawing $3,000 per month in pension and $1,800 per month in Social Security is bringing in $4,800 per month from guaranteed sources before touching a single dollar of personal savings. That is a level of financial security that most Americans spend their entire lives trying to build and never reach. The Survivor Benefit Plan, known as SBP, is the final piece that every retiree must understand before signing their retirement paperwork. When you retire, your pension income is based on your life. If you die, the pension dies with you unless you've enrolled in SBP. SBP is essentially a government-subsidized annuity that continues paying your spouse after your death. At full enrollment, your spouse receives 55% of your covered base amount for the rest of their life. The cost is 6.5% of your covered base amount deducted monthly from your pension. After 30 years of paying premiums, or when you reach age 70, whichever comes later, the premiums stop, but the coverage continues for life. This is a decision that directly affects your family's financial security, and it needs to be made with full information, not rushed through a retirement briefing. If you're approaching your 20-year mark and you haven't sat down to calculate your projected pension, your TSP balance, your Social Security trajectory, and your SBP decision simultaneously, that needs to happen before you sign anything. These four numbers together tell the real story of your retirement income, not one of them in isolation. The military pension is not a consolation prize for years of sacrifice. It is a precision financial instrument designed to reward longevity, structured to provide security, and built to last your entire lifetime. The service members who understand it use it as a launch pad. The ones who don't often underestimate what they've actually built. You've already done the hard part. Now make sure you understand what you've earned.